Attorney Mike Monteforte here, and today we're talking about ways to pay for long-term care. Clients ask us all the time how they can protect their assets and how do they go about paying for long-term care. Short answer is that there are three ways to pay for long-term care. The first way is straight out of pocket, all right, and that's called private pay. That's when you use your own money to pay the institution, the long-term care provider, through your own funds, and you continue to pay that way until your funds are exhausted. So obviously that's the least desirable of the three options. The second way to pay is through insurance. There are long-term care insurance policies that can be purchased, and those policies cover both in-home care and long-term care in a facility, depending on the type of policy. Those policies have set limits. They have set daily limits, how much they'll pay per day, and they also have limits on how much they'll pay overall. So those policies can be used to cover a part of your long-term care, sometimes all of your long-term care if you have enough coverage. Another way that insurance can contribute to your long-term care is through a life insurance policy that has what's called a chronic illness rider. And those types of riders are fairly common nowadays. They are part of life insurance policies. They're usually part of a whole life policy as opposed to term life. And those chronic illness riders can contribute towards your long-term care depending upon the type of care that you're seeking. And those policies also have certain requirements and limitations that must be met. The third way to pay for long-term care is through Medicaid. Now in Massachusetts, Medicaid is run through Mass Health. So the Mass Health program here in Massachusetts is who runs Medicaid here in our state. And Medicaid has very strict requirements regarding qualifying for benefits. So for the most part, they do not want to cover you unless you have no money left, unless you're broke. However, if you plan ahead, there are strategic ways to set up your assets in a certain way using different vehicles that an estate planner can suggest, such as different types of trusts that allow you to, in certain circumstances, segregate your assets as long as you do it early enough and protect those assets from Medicaid, therefore allowing you to still qualify for Medicaid even though you've got these additional assets that are titled in a certain way, segregated in a certain way that estate planners use to keep those assets out of the pot, so to speak. To qualify for benefits in Mass Health as of 2018, you can't own more than $2,000 in assets for a single person. Now, if you're married, a spouse that's staying at home is allowed to keep a certain amount of money as well. It's around $125,000 and change. That amount changes every year. So if one spouse goes in and one stays home, the spouse that's home is allowed to keep some of the money, but that spouse may later need long-term care of their own, and then all of the assets are counted. So it's important to plan ahead. It's important to plan early, see an estate planner early, and discuss ways to position your assets so that you can qualify for Medicaid benefits and not be stuck having to private pay. Medicaid pays at a much lower rate than private pay rate, and if you were to private pay, your money runs out very quickly. And we also have a free report that's available for download on our website regarding ways to pay for long-term care, and there's a little bit more of an in-depth explanation there, so feel free to download that from our website. Also feel free to comment and reply with a question, and we may answer that question in our next video.